Okay, welcome everyone to our third lesson of the general training writing. We're still talking about task one. In today's lesson, we talk about semi-formal letters. We'll talk about expressions for semi-formal letters, which can be tricky because it's like a middle ground between formal and informal. It's neutral, actually. We will look at three examples of semi-formal letters. So let's begin our lesson. These are some tips about semi-formal letters. A semi-formal letter is a letter that you write to someone you know, and it's usually neutral in style. It's neither formal nor informal. You may write a letter to your colleague, your neighbor, and even your manager, your direct manager. Sometimes writing a letter to a manager could be formal or semi-formal, but it can never be informal. And since you know the person, you can write the letter in a semi-formal tone, of course. I will talk about that later. Try to avoid language. Actually, don't try. You should avoid language that's too formal, like saying it would be greatly appreciated if. Okay, it's just an expression. Avoid language that's too informal. I want to tell you something about, okay, avoid informal expressions. I thought I'd drop you a line to ask about. You should use semi-formal expressions. I'm writing to request some information about. Use contractions occasionally. I'm writing to, actually you can avoid using contractions, but it's not a mistake. Okay, it's a semi-formal letter. In informal letters, you should use contractions, of course, and in formal letters, we avoid contractions completely. You can use a few transition signals, however, in addition, but focus on using expressions such as you know, in fact, obviously, and so on. Since it's a semi-formal letter, not letter, I'm sorry, you should use formal verbs like inform, postpone, consider, attend, inquire, and so on. Use more personal language. You know, semi-formal letters, they are like formal letters with a personal touch. Okay, we try to avoid using the passive. We use the passive with formal letters, but in semi-formal letters, we say something like the complaints we've received or we have received. We don't say the complaints that have been received. Okay, we don't use the passive much in these kind of letters. If you want to suggest or recommend something, use the verb suggest, of course, and recommend. And instead of saying something like, may I suggest, of course, don't use the informal expression, how about? Okay, maintain a consistent semi-formal tone, and this can be tricky, as we said at the beginning, because sometimes people get confused. Okay, people get confused about these expressions. Should I say, how about going to the manager? May I suggest a visit to the manager's office? I suggest talking to the manager. People get confused between these expressions. We'll talk about that in this lesson. But it's very important that you don't try to mix formal and informal writing styles. You will definitely lose marks. And of course, you have to use a polite tone. We talked about, in the intermediate course, we talked about the past progressive, one of its uses. In the expression, I was wondering if you could give me a hand tomorrow at, this is a very polite request. Okay. It's not direct, and using I was wondering is more polite, of course. So let's talk about degrees of formality regarding these expressions. Some expressions. Many thanks for, or thanks for your letter. This expression, of course, is formal. I'm sorry, it's informal. Thank you for your letter. This is neutral, it's semi-formal. But when I say my sincere appreciation, my sincere thanks, my sincere gratitude, these expressions are definitely formal. Okay, so for semi-formal letters, you are going to be using the expressions in this middle column. Okay, Sorry, I can't make it to the meeting. Can't make it. This is an informal expression, obviously. I am sorry, but I will not be able to come to something, maybe a meeting. Please accept my apologies for not being able to attend the meeting, something like that. This is semi-formal. If you say, I'm afraid I'll be unable to attend the meeting, please accept my sincere apologies for. This is, of course, a formal expression or expressions. I promise to do something. I promise that I will attend your wedding. I will come to your wedding. I will make it to your wedding. All these expressions are used in an informal context. I can say, I or we can assure you that, something will happen. This is a neutral expression. Of course, it means that it's a semi-formal expression. Please be assured that this is a formal expression. Could you help me? Would you help me? Would you be able to go with me? All these expressions are informal. Actually, you can even use can, okay? But I was wondering if you could or if you would. This is a semi-formal expression. The formal one would be, we would greatly appreciate your help, or we would greatly appreciate your assistance in this matter or in the matter. This is, of course, formal expression. What do you need? This is like a direct question. Of course, it's informal. Please let us know your requirements. This is semi-formal. Please inform us of your requirements. Can you see the difference? Let us know, and inform us of your requirements. This is the difference between formal and informal, because I used the formal verb. I'm sorry, this is the difference between formal and semi-formal. Okay, the use of the verb inform in the formal context, and let us know. This is the semi-formal expression. Okay, we're not done yet with these expressions. Can you please do something? Could you please do something? It's semi-formal. I would be grateful if you could. I would be grateful if you could attend our meeting tomorrow or next week, something like that. Okay, so this is formal, of course, because we use the word would be and grateful. I'm sorry for putting you out. I'm sorry for putting you out. This is in the informal one. The semi-formal would be, I am sorry for any inconvenience. I am sorry for any inconvenience. And the formal one would be, please accept our or my apologies for something, okay? Any inconvenience, for example, something like that. I'm just writing to say that I'm so sorry about, we could say, I'm writing to apologize for, this is a semi-formal expression. I'm writing to formally apologize for. Just adding the word formally, make it a bit more formal, okay? Just wanted to let you know, I'm writing to let you know, I'm writing to inform you, okay? So the expression just wanted to let you know that we will be coming next week for a visit, or we will be visiting you next week, something like that. We will drop by next week. All these are informal expressions. I'm writing to let you know about our visit next week to the city, something like that. It's semi-formal. I'm writing to inform you. This is a bit more formal than the semi-formal expression. Sorry, but I have to tell you, unfortunately, I have to let you know, I regret to inform you. Can you see the difference between these expressions? I have to tell you, it's informal language. Unfortunately, I have to let you know. Unfortunately, I have to let you know. It's a bit more formal than this expression. I regret to inform you. I regret to inform you of something. Thanks. Thank you for your understanding. Best regards. Thank you for your cooperation. This is the formal one, semi-formal one, and thanks is just the informal expression. Okay, so it's very important that you understand the differences between these expressions. The use of the verb inform, for example, the adverb formally, the word inconvenience, and so on. Okay. Now we have our first question for today's lesson. You and your family have recently moved to an English-speaking country. The person who lives in the apartment above you plays a musical instrument, and the noise causes you and your family some problems. So I'm writing a letter to my neighbor. So it shouldn't be an informal letter because I just moved to a new country, and he's not my friend, right? He's just my neighbor, and I actually don't know the man, right? So it shouldn't be formal letter. I'm not writing to my manager. I'm writing to my neighbor. So this is a neutral letter. It should be semi-formal letter. Okay. Introduce yourself and give details of the noise. Describe the problems it's causing you and your family. Suggest what action the person could take. As we talked before, you have to talk about all those these three bullet points. I mean the directives, because if you miss out one of them, you will lose marks for task achievement. Okay, so you'll have to be talking about all three of them. You can write one paragraph for each one. Okay, after your introductory sentence, of course. Now, have a plan before you begin, as we said before. Now you need to underline the most important words, the key words, before you do anything else. Then find the degree of formality. Write an introductory statement or sentence. Come up with 2 or 3 key words for each bullet point directive. Okay, you should try to do all that in less than 2 minutes. You have to finish that letter in less than 20 minutes at the exam. I mean, in the exam. So you and your family, these are your first keywords, because you will be talking about you and your family, not you alone. Have recently moved. So this is the present perfect simple. Okay, because this is something that happened before the present time, which has an effect on the present time. Okay. The person, I'm talking about the person who lives in the apartment above you. Okay, this is very important keyword. Plays a musical instrument, maybe the piano, okay, or the guitar. And the noise causes you and your family, of course, family, some problems. You have to be innovative. You have to be creative about writing letters. Try to make it so close to reality. Okay. Don't try to imagine things. It will take time, and time is something that you don't have at the exam. Okay. So try to make it as real as possible. Something personal related to your own life. Okay. If your neighbor plays the guitar, then use the guitar. If your neighbor plays the piano, then use this actual situation, real situation. Okay, let's continue with the keywords. Introduce yourself, give details of the noise, describe the problems it's causing, and you and your family. You should underline you too. Suggest action could take. You need to suggest an action. Okay. Of course, you will be writing at least 150 words for this short essay. Find the degree of formality. This is a semi-formal letter, and it's a complaint letter. Okay. It's not a request letter. You are not requesting your neighbor to do something. You are suggesting what action the person could take. I know that. Okay. But the main purpose of this letter is not request. It's complaint. You are going to complain about this noise. For the first paragraph, introduce yourself and give details of the noise. You could just say some keywords like just move, below, because the apartment is above you. Okay. Piano. You will be talking about the problem is his piano lessons, for example. The second paragraph, describe the problems it's causing you and your family. Children, my children. Go to bed, sleep, and stress. Okay, they can't go to bed because of the noise, and this is causing me and my family some stress. Okay, for the third paragraph, actually, before we move to the third paragraph, you have to be descriptive. Okay, use say that you have 2 children. I'm sorry, 2 children. give specific details. Okay, don't just write something general. It's a letter. Okay, so use specific details. For the third paragraph, we have keywords: move, practice time, change your schedule. Okay, maybe he practices the piano from 7 to 8 p.m. and you should suggest that he move his schedule, change his schedule. Okay, now let's move on to the exercise. Which sentence is better? You should spend some time on this exercise. I want you to pause the video and try to do it in on your own. For each one, we have 2 or 3 sentences, and one of them is better than the rest of the sentences. Okay, pause the video and try to figure them out on your own, and come back when you're ready. Okay. Now, for the first one, I'm writing to bring your attention to a problem you are causing. I just want to ask you to stop playing your piano at the evenings because it's causing us stress. I'm writing to kindly bring your attention to an issue of noise coming from your apartment. Which one would you choose? I would choose the third one, because the first one, it's using an inappropriate tone. I'm writing to bring your attention. Okay, good. So far, so good. To a problem you are causing. Okay, so you are attacking your neighbor in the first letter or email. Okay, of course, for the IELTS test, it's a letter, not an email. I just want to ask you to stop playing your piano at the evenings because it's causing us stress. I wouldn't use such a sentence because it has like mixed tones. You started with an informal tone. Okay, I just want to ask you about something. This is an informal tone. Then you actually attacked your neighbor. Okay, I'm writing to kindly bring your attention to an issue of noise coming from your apartment. Okay, here it's semi-formal. I'm writing to kindly. It's an appropriate tone. You are being polite. And we didn't say to a problem. We said to an issue of noise coming from apartment. 2, we just moved into the building and we are living in the apartment on the 2nd floor. Okay, here I used on the 2nd floor. It's more descriptive. You are using descriptive language. I wouldn't say we just moved into the building and that's it. Okay, you have to be specific. Which apartment? We have just moved into the building and we are living on the 2nd floor. Okay, good. We have just moved into apartment B2, which is below your apartment. So this is the best one because you are using descriptive language. You are not just saying that you have moved into the building and that's it. No, you are even being more specific. Apartment B2, which is below your apartment. So this is the best one so far. 3, however, we are well within the hearing range of your piano practice sessions due to this proximity. However, we can hear your loud noise coming out of your apartment due to this proximity. I wouldn't choose the second one because the tone isn't appropriate. Okay, and it's like mixing informal with formal language. We have the expression due to this proximity, which is formal, and we can hear your loud noise coming out of your apartment. So I wouldn't use this one. I would use the first one. It's much more. It's much better because we are well within the hearing range. This is some nice collocations here. Hearing range, piano practice sessions due to this proximity. We have 3 collocations. Okay, and this is very important for the exam. Typically, this wouldn't be a big issue, but the problem is that these sessions always seem to occur as we attempt to put our 2 young children to bed between 7 and 8 p.m. Okay, this one is good. It uses some nice descriptive language. To bed between 7 and 8 p.m. our two young children. So this is being more specific. Okay. Let's read this, the second sentence. Normally, this would be of no concern. But the problem is that these sessions always seem to take place just as we are attempting to put our two young children to bed between 7 and 8 p.m. So these are pretty much similar. This wouldn't be a big issue, and this would be of no concern. Okay. I would use the first one typically, okay, because the second one is a bit more formal, but the first one is semi-formal. This wouldn't be a big issue. I wouldn't say this would be of no concern. Okay. 5. Not only is this causing the children difficulties with getting to sleep, but it's also creating stress for my wife and me. Or not only is this is causing the children difficulties with getting to sleep, but it's also creating stress for me and my wife. The only difference between these two sentences is the inversion. And the third one, this is causing the children difficulties with getting to sleep, but it's also creating stress. Okay, so you have here a choice to make. If you use the expression not only, you have to invert the subject and the verb. For this expression, we use inversion, like we do in questions. We start the question with the verb, then the subject. Okay, so the second one would be a mistake. This is a mistake because we have to invert the subject and the verb. So not only is this causing the children difficulties, we don't say not only this is causing, like a normal sentence. Okay, but after the, I mean in the second clause, after but, because this is a compound sentence, obviously, you start after but with the subject as any other sentence, okay, but not in the not only expression. In this expression, you have to invert the subject and the verb. By no means am I suggesting that you quit your piano practice altogether. By no means I am suggesting that you quit your piano practice altogether. This expression, by no means, it's similar to the previous one. So you have to invert the subject and the verb. So the first one is grammatically correct. The second one isn't. Okay. By no means am I suggesting that you quit your piano practice altogether. This is the correct one because you have to invert the subject and the verb. Okay. Rather, it would be a huge help to my family if you could just move your practice back by an hour or two. I was wondering if you could move your practice back by an hour or two. This would be a huge help to my family and I. Or can you move your practice sessions back by an hour or two? I'd appreciate that. I wouldn't use that last one because here we use can, which is informal. I would use the first or the second one. Okay, the second one is using the, uses the past progressive tense. I was wondering, and if you could, okay. So this is a good one, a good sentence. And the first one is also good. For the last sentence, number 8, I appreciate your understanding and please drop by if you would like to discuss this in person. Thank you for your understanding and please drop by if you would like to discuss this in person. Thanks in advance. Of course, thanks in advance would not be appropriate for this context. You can't end the paragraph, the letter with such an expression because you need to be more polite than that. I would use the first one or the second one. I appreciate your understanding, and even better, thank you for your understanding. Okay, so moving on to the actual letter. Okay, I'm writing to kindly bring your attention to an issue of noise coming from your apartment. We have just moved into apartment B2, which is below your apartment. Here, we have used the present perfect simple, okay? Because even in the question, it says have recently moved. It has to do with, it's a recent action. It's a recent event. So you must use the present perfect simple. However, I want you to notice these expressions, however, but, instead, if and. Actually, I think I am missing more cohesive devices. Anyway, these are 1, 2, 3, 4 cohesive devices. As we talked a lot before about cohesive devices, and we will keep talking about them as we start talking about part 2 of the writing test, the essay writing part, because without cohesive devices, you will not be able to connect your sentences and your paragraphs with each other. Okay, so here we have some cohesive devices. Okay, here we have not only and by no means. We said that with these expressions, you have to invert the subject and the verb. You have to start with the verb as you are asking a question. Is this causing the children difficulties with getting to sleep? But this is not a question. These expressions just use inversion as in questions. That's it. Not only, by no means. Okay. It's 160 words, this letter. Okay. I want you to read it a few times and try to understand how it's structured. Okay. Moving on to the second question, because in today's lesson we have 3 questions. You are working on a project with a work colleague. It's my colleague. Okay, he's not my friend, so it's not going to be an informal letter, but he's a work colleague. So he's not my manager, so I won't be using a formal tone. A semi-formal tone will be appropriate for this letter. However, you don't think you will finish in time to meet the deadline. So I'm working on a project with a colleague, and I will not be able to finish in time. I will not be able to meet the deadline. In your letter, describe details of the project. Say what you can't, why you can't meet the deadline. Suggest a new deadline. We said that in order to achieve a high mark on task achievement, you need to address or talk about the 3 bullet point directives. Preferably, you need to use 1 paragraph for each one of them. Okay. Here, this is an exercise about this letter. You have to choose the more appropriate expression. Okay, they are bolded out, and you have to choose which one is best. Dear James, I'm writing to give you the heads up or warning that disastrously, unfortunately, I may be unable to finish the A605 project within the original deadline. So would you use the give you the heads up or warning? We are not writing an informal letter, so I can't be using the expression the heads up. Okay, so it would be appropriate to use the expression give you warning. I'm writing to give you warning. For the second one, would you use unfortunately or disastrously? Okay, which one would you use? It's not a disaster. Okay, it's an unfortunate situation, so I would use unfortunately. Okay, moving on. At the moment, the focus of the project is on the battery module. From what I understand, as far as I know, which one would you use? This is a cohesive device. This expression is a cohesive device. Okay, from what I understand, is much better than as far as I know, because this is a project that you are working on with him. So if you use the expression as far as I know, it would be a problem, as if you don't know much about your own project. Okay, so I would use from what I understand. The rest of the project is going smoothly, and I think I'm correct in saying that your side of the project has recently been completed or is completed. So it's like he's working on some part of the project and you are working on a different part. Okay, which one would you use? It's of course a grammatical question. Okay, has recently been completed or is completed? Of course, this has to do with the present time. I would use the present perfect simple tense. And this is, of course, in the passive voice. Has recently been completed. Okay. I wouldn't use is completed because this has to do with the because the situation itself has to do with something that happened before the present time, which has an effect on this time, this moment. Okay. The issue is that the thing is sadly an essential component for the module is currently out of stock or has been currently out of stock. Okay. For the first one, we should use the expression, the issue is that. This is a bit more formal than I say, than something like saying the thing is, which is informal. Okay. The issue is that sadly an essential component of the module is currently out of stock, or the an essential component of the module for the module has been currently out of stock. Which one would you use? Of course, we would use is currently out of stock. This is the correct expression, grammatically speaking, of course. With our supplier and without this component, it will be impossible or unimaginable for the project to be completed or to complete on time. Would you use impossible or unimaginable? Which one would you use? Of course, impossible. We don't, it has nothing to do with imagination, okay? Unimaginable is inappropriate here, okay? Impossible for the project to be completed or to complete on time. Which one would you use? To be completed or to complete on time? Of course, we would use the passive to be completed, okay? I have contacted or I contacted the supplier to express the urgency of this situation, to tell him how important this is for us. And I'm currently waiting on the response. I have contacted or I contacted the supplier. Of course, we would use the present perfect simple here because this is has to do with the present time. We're not talking about the past. So I have contacted the supplier to express the urgency of the situation or to tell him how important this is for us. I would use the first one. Of course, it's not informal, it's a semi-formal, to express the urgency of the situation. As you can see, the semi-formal letters tend to be a bit formal, okay? It's not informal language. We don't use informal language in semi-formal letters, okay? We use more formal language than informal, of course. Hopefully, the supplier will have or is having good news for us. But if not, I would suggest that we push the deadline back by 2 weeks. This should allow enough time for the component to be restocked and delivered and for the project to be completed. Okay. Which one would you use? Hopefully, the supplier will have or is having good news for us. Hopefully the supplier will have, because we are still waiting on a response, on a reply from the supplier. So we are talking about the future, not is having here. Okay. Best regards. You end the letter with best regards. Sometimes you could say yours sincerely. It's fine. Okay. Now we have another question. Your child is going on a 3-day school trip to another country. The head teacher wants to find parents to go with the group and you would like to go. Write a letter to the head teacher. In your letter, say why you would like to go on the trip. Suggest what you could do to help during the trip. Ask other questions about the trip. Okay, now let's talk about the plan. The letter is semi-formal, of course. I'm writing to the head teacher, so it shouldn't be formal nor informal. Okay, the purpose, you are offering to help actually, so it's an offer and a request at the same time. Start with maybe dear Mr. Ahmed, then your introductory sentence. I write to you regarding or with regard to something. The first paragraph for the first bullet point directive, you need to come up with, as we said before, a few key words. Have time off work, want to help or contribute. Okay. For the second one, for the second bullet point directive, participate in activities looking after students, knowledge of first aid, because for the second bullet point directive, it says suggest what you could do to help during the trip. For the third one, about the questions, because you will be asking some questions, maybe I will ask about working hours, accommodation, okay, then the closing statement. I look forward to hearing from you, and with yours sincerely, and of course you have to use your name, Michael, Yusuf, or something. Don't say just Michael, because it doesn't make any sense. Okay, if you end your paragraph with Michael, then you have a problem here. I mean, who is Michael? Okay, I need to be more specific. I need to use more descriptive language, because if you imagine that you are writing an actual letter to the head teacher, you wouldn't say you wouldn't end your letter with Ahmed. Okay, who is Ahmed? Okay, you have to be more specific about that. So for this exercise, we want to correct the verbs. Actually, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 verbs. Okay, this has to do with grammar. Okay, because grammatical accuracy is very important, and you need to understand the differences. Okay, I write to you with regard to the upcoming trip to London, planned from Friday the 15th of October to Sunday 17th October. Okay, so this, we are using some descriptive language. The trip to London and plan from to. Okay, I write. No, I don't say I write. I say I am writing to you. Okay, my son Jamie Michael. This is descriptive language. Inform me. No. Should I say informed me in the past simple? No, because it has to do with the present time. So we must use the present perfect simple. Has informed me that you look for parents to assist with the group. Look, no. Here we have to use the present progressive tense, because the head teacher is looking right now. So that you are looking for parents to assist with the group, and I would like, this is some polite expressions here, I would like to put myself forward as a volunteer. Since the trip fall right in line with my time off from work this year, joining you for the 3 days would allow me to combine my holiday time with a contribution to the school. So since the trip falls, okay, just missing the S. Okay, aside from looking after the children while they explore the city, I would also be happy to set up and participate in any activities that might be scheduled. It's also worth mentioning that I be trained. Of course, trained is an adjective, but you have to use the correct verb form here. I am trained in first aid. So in the unfortunate case of a medical emergency, I could, not I can, I could, because it expresses willingness to do something. I could assist on this front. I just have a couple of questions about the trip. Firstly, how many hours can we expect to work each day? And secondly, what can we expect in terms of accommodation? I look forward to hearing from you, because to is a preposition here. It's not part of the infinitive, like to go, to eat, to run, to sleep. No, to here is a preposition. So the following should it's followed by a noun. So hearing, not here. Okay. Then I'm using yours sincerely, Michael Yusuf. I could say best regards. It's fine. Okay. This is the letter. As you can see, we have talked about the 3 bullet point directives. We started with the introductory statement or sentence. I'm writing to you with regard to the upcoming trip to London. And of course, this is some descriptive language here. My son, Jimmy Michael, has informed me that you are looking for parents to assist. Okay, assist is a bit formal, of course. We wouldn't say something like to help, although nothing is wrong with this word, with this verb, I mean, but assist is a bit more formal, and we said that a semi-formal letter is more formal than informal. And I would like, we don't say I want, and I want to put myself forward. I would like, it's more polite, of course. Since this is another cohesive device, we have here many cohesive devices. We have since, we have aside from, also that, so, firstly and secondly, okay? And you have to use cohesive devices, as we said. Okay, since the trip falls right in line with my time off from work this year, joining you for the 3 days would allow me to, you shouldn't use will, okay? You have to use would, because it's not certain that he will accept you as a volunteer, of course. So would, okay? If you accepted me, this would allow me to combine my holiday time and contribution to the school. We talked about that in the intermediate course. Of course, we had a session, a whole session about would, okay? Aside from looking after the children while they explore the city, this is something that I will be doing. I would also be happy to set up and participate in any activities that might be scheduled. It's also worth mentioning that I am trained in first aid. So in the unfortunate case of a medical emergency, I could, not I can, I could assist on this front. I could assist in this matter, okay? I just have a couple of questions about the trip. This is a semi-formal language. Firstly, how many hours can we expect to work each day? And secondly, what can we expect in terms of accommodation? Okay, then I look forward to hearing from you. You closed your letter with this sentence. I look forward to hearing from you, and that's it. Okay, so for our inshallah, for our homework, you will write 3 semi-formal letters, inshallah, and in our next session we will talk about all these kinds of letters as a review before we move on to part 2 of the exam, inshallah. See you soon and goodbye.